Today was one of those days where I wish I didn't have to go to work. I already did go to work. So, it's wet and cold and rainy. It actually feels like Maryland felt where I used to live. And I remember I just telling people every time they were commenting, they would see me in the parking lot moving the carts and they would comment and I would just have a conversation with someone. I'd point out that I'm from the north, so this is not, yeah, it's an ugly day, but I've experienced colder weather. I don't live in Maine or New York. I didn't live in Maine or New York, but still, this is nothing. Still a really ugly day, and I still do not want to be outside. But at the same time, nothing was going on inside. And as long as, because, I was moving the carts, I was good. I wasn't great, but as long as I kept moving, it was tolerable. Well, anyway, so today is Top 5 Wednesday, and this week's topic is problematic faves, favorite characters. I had a little trouble with this topic, just like the last one. I wasn't entirely sure what exactly meant those type of characters. And, from, what Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, the owner of the group, Top 5 Wednesday, she, instead of showing her Top 5 Wednesdays this week, she did a video where she discussed it. And she pointed out something that I agree with, that we both feel the same about, that we don't necessarily have guilty pleasures or characters that we feel bad for liking. Granted, some people might think differently, because I like characters like Spike and Rumpelstiltskin, who a lot of people, half the people who watch Once Upon a Time or did watch it, half of them do not like Rumpelstiltskin, and they are so very critical of his character. The difference is, I acknowledge that he is no saint. He's no Prince Charming. He made a lot of bad decisions out of fear and out of, basically out of fear and probably bad judgment. But I feel like the character was stuck in a corner, essentially. And I'm not saying that excuses his behavior, because the point of me saying this is that I don't excuse his behavior, but I think he does deserve redemption. And the same thing with Spike. I think he earned it, but some people believe that Spike attempting to rape Buffy took away his ability to earn redemption. But the thing, I feel, my argument is, in the case of Spike, that, I hate that they had him do that they wrote that he did that I hated it. But at the same time, I'm not gonna dismiss it, I'm not gonna ignore it. It happened, it sucks, but it happened. But my thing is, he went and got a soul, so he feels that instantly. He feels what Buffy felt like, and he looked at himself like horrible. He felt horrible. He felt like the monster that they say he is. That the monster that he is because he's a vampire. And he felt it when he got a soul, and he got that on his own. He chose to get a soul, and he felt it. Not just that, but he felt all the pain of all his victims. So that's why I still, also, to be fair, I also got into the show, got into watching the reruns, because I didn't watch the show when it first came into existence. So I was watching reruns, and I got into watching the reruns when they were replaying season 7. So I only saw the part of their relationship that was decent, that was good. Not great, not perfect, but it was decent. And unfortunately, I finally see the rape scene in that. It still disturbs me, and I can't watch it. If I'm watching, because I would DVR it, so if I'm watching, or I would watch it on my Netflix account, which I no longer can watch right now because I think my iPad was messing up, so I've had to take a break from watching Netflix shows, so I am really behind on my Netflix. I was in the middle of watching Star Trek Next Generation. I started watching season 4, but then my stupid, iPad started to mess up, and I want to check out Stranger Things, and a few other shows that I keep hearing about, and I keep saying I'll get into them, I'll check them out, but I never got around to them. which I'm kind of hoping I'll get an iPad for Christmas. Although I did take it off of my list because I didn't think I had to worry about it, but then it started messing up again, and so I'm hoping that might be my one big present. But I mean, of course, it's not about that. It's not about the gifts, but anyway, back to Top 5 Wednesday. So I had trouble with this topic. But I attempted it because I wanted to do it. Back in October, I only was able to do, I think, two of the topics. One of them I think I could have been able to do, but I didn't get around to it. So I really want to do this month's topics. So I attempted last week's, I did it. I only got up to 4 though. And I also attempted this, and I did this week's topic, and I picked 5 people that I think could fit problematic favorites. Unfortunately, I had to change some of the ideas because originally there were a couple characters that I wasn't sure about, but I know people don't always like them. But, at the same time, I feel like I wasn't sure if they would work, so I changed my answers again. And one of them was actually Rumple, so that technically was a TV character. So, but I changed them anyway. Okay, so let's see. My first number 1 problematic character I said was Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. Gone with the Wind it was one of the first, over 500 first tomes I ever finished. Still took a long time, and the same thing with It, which I think is longer than this one. I'm actually in the middle of a reread, but I haven't gone back to it because I have so many other books that I'm reading. So, in fact, on my Big Books book club, I basically, on Facebook anyway, I said that there's not going to be a set date because I'm not reading it right now. And it doesn't help that I'm working, and there are just days when I just feel like chilling and not doing much anything. So now I really understand my friends like Terry and Kathy, how they feel. But anyway, Scarlett O'Hara is a selfish, spoiled brat, essentially. And she's horrible. She takes people for granted that love her. And she, in fact, at one point she steals her sister's beau, as they call, sister's boyfriend, the guy that she wants to marry, and Scarlett marries him because she sees that he wants to go into the lumber business. So she sees this as an opportunity, sees it, and flirts with him, and then gets him to fall in love with her, and they get married. And she does a lot of horrible things. She is a spoiled brat, essentially. But I can't help but love her character. I love reading about her character. It's fascinating. She's such a complex woman. She rebels against society. When she's ambitious, she wants what she wants. She knows how to get what she wants. Of course, that also means she takes people her family, the 2 guys that are her 2, Melanie Wilkes and Melanie's husband, Ashley Wilkes, who she's in love with. But when she does love, she's very passionate. She loves passionately. And then Rhett, who is head over heels in love with her. She totally takes him for granted because she doesn't want him. She wants Ashley. And then by the time she realizes that she does love Rhett, it's too late. And the book basically ends, and most people know the story, so the book ends with him saying, let me see. Okay. My dear, I don't give a damn. When she tells him that she loves him, she finally realizes that she wants to be with him. Although in the movie they add, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And there actually is a sequel not written by Margaret Mitchell where Scarlett goes to South Carolina, where Rhett is from, and tries to get him back. And then he doesn't want her back. He won't give her a second chance. So she, after she tries, and she ends up getting pregnant because they do hook up, and she gets pregnant with his child. But then she decides to go to Ireland to meet her Irish relatives, and then finally they are able to run into each other again. But she is manipulative and a horrible person, but she is just so interesting. I just love her character. I love, it's she's not just a little goody damsel in distress. Like a lot of times the main characters in a lot of these classics are sweet and everything and good girls, and she's not. She's one of the heroines from a classic that is a horrible person. But she's definitely interesting, and it's so fun to read about her. I imagine that it's very similar to how, like, Kathy and Heathcliff are. They're horrible people, and no one's really likable. And I definitely think she's likable. I definitely think some people might think her unlikable. But that's a good character, because that's how real people are. Real people aren't always loved by everybody. Not everybody is sweet. Sometimes people are horrible human beings. Sometimes people are mean and selfish. And in fact, there's going to be a little pattern here with my characters. Like, I have a lot of female characters on here that are just, like, I think I only have maybe, like, one male character. I actually have the document right here. I'm looking at it right now. Actually, no, I ended up changing it to all females. Originally I had, I had at least 2 male characters, but then I wasn't sure if those would work for this. So that is Scarlett O'Hara. She's awesome, and which, by the way, if you can read a book this thick, I would recommend it. It's a great read. I mean, unless you're just not into historical fiction and, Okay, let's see. Who's the next character? Okay, this next character, I do not have a copy of the book. Or books, I should say, because it's a trilogy. Well, now it's a quartet, because the author came out with a new book, which I just saw at Booksmell yesterday, because I stopped by there to get a Christmas gift for a friend, and then I actually bought some books for myself, because I am a book addict, and of course, I can laugh about that, but my parents wouldn't laugh about that. They'd just roll their eyes and be like, no, you don't have to buy a book every time you go to the bookstore. And I admit I'm an addict. I can't help it. But my argument, in my defense, is better than buying a bunch of getting addicted to video games, or getting addicted to drugs, or smoking, or something. So, but this one, I got this one from the library because I wasn't sure about it, but Reagan from Peruse Projects had constantly talked about this trilogy. So I decided to buy it from the library. I just fell in love with this trilogy. And that is Sophie from the School of Good and Evil. Sophie, like Scarlett, is a selfish brat. She's just a younger selfish brat. So, and she's from a more fairy tale-esque world, so it's a little different. So basically the premise, she is this selfish, she's such a selfish, vain human being. There's this, in the story, there's a school for, their town, there's a rumor going on in their town that these creature will come and collect 2 of the children from their village, from their town or village or whatever, and take them to the school for good and evil, and one child will go to the school of evil, and one child will go to the school of good. And Sophie believes in this, and she automatically thinks that she's going to go to the school of good, and she does all these things to make sure she will be considered good. She does all these charitable things, which on the surface seem really great, but the truth is, they're not. She's only doing it to get the label of good. And she totally takes advantage and takes it granted of her best friend, Agatha, who's totally loyal to her and loves her like a sister and will do anything for her and is very protective of Sophie. But Sophie just is so horrible to her, and, she is all, she's not, Agatha is not considered the prettiest girl. She's, kind of gawky looking, really big eyes, doesn't have the pretty golden hair. In fact, her hair, in the picture, because they have an illustration on the book, she has short black hair. And she's very awkward, and, just like her mother, Sophie will continuously tell her, if you get taken, you would go to the evil school. Because you're ugly, and you're not, you're not social, you're antisocial, you don't interact with people. But in the story, when they do get taken, Agatha ends up going to the good school, and Sophie ends up going to the bad school, the evil school. And Sophie does whatever she can to make sure her and Agatha switch places. And at first, Agatha goes along with it, even though she is really good and does really well with her studies and at the school. She is determined. She knows something's up, something's not right with the school, and feels like the school's very prejudiced and stuff. And tries to get them to leave, and Sophie is determined to stay because she thinks she belongs here. She feels that she belongs here and that she is a beautiful little princess. And she acts like a little spoiled little princess. And she does whatever, she does all these things to try to force Agatha to switch with her, and she even lies to Agatha and promises to leave. But she doesn't want to. And she tries to, she totally does all these horrible things to Agatha, not directly mean, not picking on, not the obvious kind of mean, but she totally takes her for granted and tried to sabotage her because as you read the story, you realize that Agatha and Tedros, who is the son of Prince Arthur, are drawn to each other. And like everybody else, Tedros has these superficial ideas. And so he believes that Sophie and him are meant to be together. But then when Sophie starts to change and transform and show her evilness, because she actually, she's beautiful on the outside, she's ugly on the inside. But then she starts actually seeing, she has warts and gets all wrinkly and starts to look like a crone as she starts to do more and more selfish things. Now, the problem, but I get so frustrated with this character, but I get so frustrated with Sophie, and it's a lot of this, but at the same time, I love her too. She is so fun to read about. You just shake her head at her actions and her way of thinking, and you just want to shake her and be like, you are a selfish brat. You act all innocent, but you really are showing that you belong to the school for good and for evil. But she's so complex. Like I said, she is just like Scarlet, just a younger version of Scarlet. And a little not entirely as real as Scarlet is. But still, she's so complex and so interesting, and you just want to understand what makes her think the way she does, why she's so selfish, and it's just, again, I seem to like selfish, bratty female characters. I always find them incredibly interesting and fun to read about, and some people would just get probably annoyed by those kind of characters, but I'm entertained by them. I mean, sometimes while I'm reading the book, sometimes I do get a little, with these characters, but most of the time, I just love reading about them. Okay, so next, that was number 2. Number 3, character number 3, I said, was, okay, actually, you know what I should do? I'll be right back. Which actually, now that I think about it, now that I'm rebuying this particular series that this character comes from, I might just keep my copy of the book about this character. But, so actually I ended up, okay, so I'll show you all of them. Okay, so, the next character I said was Queen Levana from the Lunar Chronicles. And she's kind of supposed to be like the evil queen, evil queen from Snow White, and I have this one, which I was debating, I was thinking about giving this to my friend, but now I'm rebuying the series, so I might keep it. I mean, I don't know, or who knows, maybe one day I'll just buy it from a friend, or I can go to Books A Million, and if she ever comes to visit me. Not Terry. Terry's the one that is able to come and visit me, but, as in Terry Johnson, because I know 2 Terrys, but one of them is actually, her name is Therese. But I'm talking about my other best friend, Larissa. I know she's a little more, I think Terry Johnson wouldn't necessarily, it's debatable she would be actually interested in reading this series. I don't know, maybe she would be. But, I know that Larissa would would love this series. So I gave her my original copies, and then I kind of regretted it. Originally I was going to give her this copy of Faves, and then I kind of regretted it, so I ended up rebuying the series. I don't have the fourth book because it was in hardback, and the paperback will come out in January, and I almost rather buy the paperback editions. I mean, I'm not as particular about having all paperback in a series, because, I mean, I didn't have all paperback for Harry, no, actually, I do have it for Harry Potter, although I'm thinking about getting oh, no, I have all hardback of Harry Potter, but I'm thinking about getting the paperback, because my copy of the third book is falling out of the spine, but I'm very tempted to, buy the paperbacks, but those were also my original copies of my very first copies, the only copies of Harry Potter that I have, actually. I'm not one of those people who collects multiple copies of books, of series, because my mom wouldn't let me, and now, you know, it's like, she's like, I'm not buying another bookshelf. I mean, maybe one day I will buy my own other bookshelf, and I could get more than one copy. But that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Okay, anyway, that was me getting off on a tangent. So, like I said, Queen Levana from the Lunar Chronicles. Again, another selfish, horrible, manipulative character. And she even, she does a lot of horrible things to people, and is selfish and uses her power of mind control, because that's what this is a futuristic story, and all these people, and it's half the population of Earth, a portion of them live on the moon. And all those people that live on the moon, they have the ability to manipulate your mind and make you see and feel things that they want you to think and feel. Levana, in her little backstory, she uses that power on someone that trusts her, and that's part of what makes her become the evil person that she is. And she is so selfish and just a cruel person and a very vain person. But she is 10 times more complex than the character that inspired this character, and that is the evil queen from Snow White. And so, even though I'm not going to make excuses for her, but I was fascinated about reading about her. Like, I love reading stories about, like, origin stories, revenge and origin stories, where you find out why, in redemption arc, so that there was no redemption arc for her, but, the origin stories that might have been intended to make you feel a little sympathy for her, or at least to know why she is the way she is. And that's what I love reading those stories. I love learning about why characters are the way they are. And, this has a crown on the spine. But no pretty pictures on the spine. It's just black. But it does have pretty on the inside. It has a picture of Artemisia. Which that is now, I actually have a Lunar Chronicles group on Facebook. And this is the picture I have for the cover photo, the cover of the group, so that when people find it. So if you're on Facebook, you love the series, then look for the Lunar Chronicles group. But there might be more, I just don't know about them. But it's basically, but not because, I make excuses for her behavior, but I just love her character, and she is so interesting and compelling, and, it was cool to read about her backstory and to learn about why she is the way she is and what shaped her as a character. So, I cannot wait to get winter, but I do know what happens, so, it's not like I'm in a rush to get it. I have to wait until January. That was number 3. Okay, so the next character, number 4, the fourth character, is the Wicked Witch of the West, aka Elphaba from Wicked. She's known as the Wicked Witch of the West in the original series, the series that she originally comes from. But this is the first book in a series that kind of Although I do feel like you could probably read Wicked by itself, because I don't know if it really ends. I don't remember if it ends on any. I don't think it really ends on a cliffhanger. Let me see. I'm trying to. No, I don't think we actually. I think you can read this as a standalone, but there is a sequel. There's 4 books. And I would rather get all 4 books in this edition because this is the edition I have of Wicked. So I guess I am kind of particular, but I try not to be. But I'm willingly going to grab what I can of this for each edition, for whatever edition is there. But she's a wicked witch. She's just a wicked. She's a wicked, wicked person. And not in a cool way, as in she's evil. But you can't really, of course, you can't blame her for wanting to kill Dorothy and kidnapping her because she dropped a house, even though it wasn't Dorothy's fault. Because she couldn't control where her house landed, but she dropped a house on her sister, the Wicked Witch of the East, who, in this story, his name is Nessa Rose. But they don't have a name. I think because once you become wicked, they're like, you don't deserve a name. So no one ever knows their names anymore. They're just called the Wicked Witch of the East and Wicked Witch of the West. But this adds so much more to the character. It explains why she's green, and it adds complexities to the character. It makes her interesting. It makes her more fascinating to read about. You learn more about why again, this is another story where we learn about what shaped her, why she's the way she is. Like she is, people are prejudiced towards her because she's green and she's not little Miss Perky and Peppy. And she does end up she and Galinda actually were friends for a period of time in the series, in Oz. But then something happens where they kind of are no longer friends. And you learn about her character, about Elphaba, and like I said, she gets a name. Obviously, her name is Elphaba, and you get so much. You learn so much more about her, and again, I keep saying why she's the way she is. I like stories that kind of explain why characters are the way they are. I mean, that's why why at first I loved about Once Upon a Time is it had it was like an origin story of the fairy tale characters. Like there was an episode for a lot of the major players in the story, in the overall arc on Once Upon a Time, where the problem is I feel like they rushed the story, and then all of a sudden, like, I loved Regina in the beginning, but all of a sudden she became this pity party character. Oh, feel sorry for me, woe is me, the world is out to get me. And she did a lot more. So I feel like in the story that there was excuses made for Regina's character. Like, I don't like that. Of course, some people would argue that that's what I'm doing with Rumpelstiltskin, but that's not my intention. That's not how I feel about Rumple. I'm not going to make excuses, but I do believe this character deserved to be redeemed and deserved to get a second chance and deserved to be loved. And have Belle's love, and he didn't deserve to be stepped all over and being told, now you are bad, you don't do things my way, so you go in the corner. So there's a difference between I feel like there's a difference between making excuses for those kind of characters and being like, this character deserves redemption, this character deserves a second chance, this character deserves to earn their redemption, and they did earn it. They worked hard. They weren't just giving it to them like, which I obviously, as I mentioned multiple times before, I feel strongly about the Once Upon a Time situation, and it's hard for me to move on from it, even though I no longer watch it. Yes, I don't watch it, but I can't, and I know people will say, well, then why are you in the groups about it? Which, of course, I don't have to say that because you don't know me personally, but I am in groups for Rumpelstiltskin and for Beauty and for Rumbelle. But I don't like how the writers treat this character. I don't like how they treat Rumple and how they've ruined Belle for me. But that is my opinion, of course, and I don't go on Hook related groups and just preach my opinion to them all the time and tell them how Hook is a horrible character and doesn't deserve redemption. I think if they did his character right and took the time with his character and didn't turn him so quickly into Miss Perfect Prince Charming, then, which he's not perfect, but still, like, I feel like they were trying to turn him into Emma's Prince Charming. And that was definitely, I feel like it was rushed. I feel like they did not take their time with showing, like, what they did with Rumple and Regina, but I feel like they also ruined Regina's storyline and turned her into this pity party. She's not as interesting of a character anymore. Of course, I watched it up until season 4, so I still know, I'm not blind, I know what was going on in the show up until season 4. And unfortunately, because I'm in those Rumpelstiltskin groups, because I still love the character and support who the couple Rumple and Belle were supposed to be, so I don't think I should give up those groups just because, you know, I hate the show. But, you know, my point of going off into this tangent is not just because I'm super passionate about this, I feel super emotional about it, but he is a character that there are complicated opinions on his character. He is a problematic character. He are seen as a problematic character, and the same with Regina. So again, I was debating about putting one of them on this list, but I did not because I wasn't entirely sure, and I try to stay away from including TV show characters. Like, I try to stick to book characters because I feel like I know more about TV shows than books, and I want to change that and make it equal footing. So that's why I'm so grateful for BookTube and, you know, Goodreads and all that. So I'm going to stop talking and rambling because, you know, this has been a long video and you guys probably do not care about Once Upon a Time and my thoughts on it. So that's my top 5. Oh, wait, did I forget a character? Oh, crap, I'm not done yet. Totally forgot. Okay, so the last character I included is, again, this is a series I don't have, this one I did buy, but then I got rid of the series because I just didn't feel like continuing. I mean, it was an entertaining series, but I just didn't feel like, you know, and that is Dorothy Must Die series. And I'm talking about Dorothy, who's the villain this time. So this is after she saves Oz and all that, and kills the Wicked Witch, kills Elphaba. And she decides her life in Kansas is boring and comes back and becomes this horrible tyrant. And she is a horrible, tyrannical person. But, again, she's such a fun character. In fact, someone else actually put this character as one of their top 5s. And I totally agree with that person's answer. I think she's more interesting in her tyrannical and bratty attitude than the main character, Amy Gum, which is sad because Amy is supposed to be the main character. Like, she's another girl from Kansas who was whisked away on a twister and lands in Oz, and the remaining witches recruit Amy to help them defeat Dorothy. And I really like the series because it not only didn't twist the story, but it made Dorothy and Glinda actually evil, which I love. I love that they're evil. Because, like, Glinda was just too sweet, and it drove me crazy. Of course, I'm looking at it from an adult perspective, and this story was written originally for kids, but it's always kind of been part of me. Because my dad was the wizard in the stage show at our community theater. I have the special edition DVD, and it's always been part of my life. I was very excited about the series, and then I started reading, and I liked the first 2 books, but then it just felt like another generic YA, just with a different, you know, where it was taking a unique spin on Wizard of Oz. But I did love that Dorothy and Glinda were evil. And I love Dorothy's character. I love her. In her evilness and wickedness, she is awesome. And I love how she's, like, you know, a bit of a fashionista in the story. Like, how I feel about these characters I've mentioned is the same way I feel about Glory from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the villain Glory. She's like a hell goddess, and she actually kind of has that same attitude as all his characters, and is a bit of a fashionista like Dorothy in the Dorothy Must Die series. And I definitely recommend this series. Of course, if you are, of course, there is a possibility that you might, not like it because it's disrespectful to Wizard of Oz. I mean, I don't think it is, but I don't know how people think. So I'm just guessing because I think. But anyway, that was the last one. So I will post the link to the Goodreads group. And if you are interested in doing Top 5 Wednesday, whether you want to actually be part of the Top 5 Wednesday group or you just want to do it just for fun. Top 5 Wednesday was created by Ginger Reads Laney originally, but now it is hosted by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. So I hope you guys liked my top 5. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and like I said, I will leave the link if you're interested. Alright, bye!